Well, I did something really weird this time. Not sure why, but it just kind of shot a bunch of food back in here. I don't know where all this food just came from. The whole point of cleaning that filter was so I could get rid of some of this food. But what I'm going to do now is I have my my plants just sitting here behind the intake, and so I'm going to remove these plants from behind the intake, and I am going to raise this intake up just a little bit, and then I'm going to pop this off and clean out this food that's in here so that I can have a little bit of a cleaner strainer. Just take the strainer filter, rinse it off in some dechlorinated water, and you can put that back onto the intake. Now that I've got the intake strainer put back together, I am going to stick this bubbler back here behind the intake inlet pipe, and I'm going to take these roots to my plant, and I'm going to stack them above the filter, above the bubbler, so that they can get some air. And now the pump is continuing to cycle water in and out. And now what I can do is start scrubbing all this off. Nasty. Well, it's going to get dirty in there quick. Don't overfeed your fish, guys. I'm just basically using my hand to scrub off the sides, scrub off the bottom, and making sure that I get all this nasty stuff off the bottom and the sides of the glass. And hopefully it doesn't get too murky in here for these poor fish. They're already so nasty. Good thing I do this once a week, huh? Good thing there's no substrate on the bottom too. I mean, I wouldn't even know that was there if it had substrate. Anyways, I will finish this up and show you guys what it looks like here in a second. I have this half of the tank cleaned off. Of course, the fish want to hang out on the dirty side because I'm cleaning that side. But yeah, I think it might be time for the fish to take a bath. I'm gonna have to give the fish a bath after this. This is gross. You know, I don't know what it is about me, I just can't help it. I have to overfeed my fish. So anyway, not too sure what all this is. It's not really actually like fish food. If it is, it's really broken down quite a bit. And there really wasn't that much fish food in the filter. So they're definitely eating a lot more than just a little pinch. And anyway, the glowfish are still alive. Everybody said they were going to get eaten. They haven't yet. This guy here is doing really well, and I'll talk more about him in a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and finish cleaning up this half of the tank. As you can see, I have scrubbed off all the mud off the bottom and the sides, and that was only just a quarter of the water taken out. The water is super cloudy in there. I don't feel good about just leaving it like that. I'm going to go ahead and take the water level down a little lower than I usually do. Probably take out another at least 10 more gallons of water so that I can swap out some more clean water in there. This guy over here is going to need to get some of that water though. So I will take some of the water from here and put it into this fish tank for the plant. I am going to be using a second fish tank so that I can take this plant out and put it into a new tank and clean this out once a week. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and fill it up using the Fluval pump. Instead of filling up this plastic tote, I'll just put a little bit of water, like, I don't know, about that much water in there. Looks about right, I don't know. about the height of my finger in here of some of this dirty fish water, and that will help feed this plant. Again, once a week I am adding aquaponic fertilizer to the tank, so it's not just fish water that I'm using, but this stuff does have NPK in it. I'm just adding a little bit extra. I'll just do the same system that I do for filling it up the other way with the plastic tote. The only difference is that I'm just going to be using this. So I just close the out, open up that valve, excuse me, and that's going to take some of this dirty fish water from here and put it into this fish tank for my plant. And again, I'm just going to put about a couple of inches of water in there, just enough to have the roots sit in water. I don't want the plant to be sitting in water. But the plant's hanging from the ceiling, so it's not a big deal. Just want to make sure that I'm not filling it all the way up or anything like that. Now I have this tank full of the dirty fish water. So the trick is I just got to move this one out of the way and move this one over. So I guess what I'll do is I'll probably just slide this over here. And this will be a lot easier once I get my second Fluval pump, because I'll have a pump dedicated just for the plants. But at least now I have a couple of tanks dedicated to just the plants. So this plant, again, the roots are just above, the water is just above the roots, the plant's above the water. Got a string tied around the first branch, taped to the ceiling, which I've been adjusting that daily. And I'm just gonna pick this up and set this in here, and then put the bubbler in underneath that. I just moved this bucket out of the way. This has the dirty water from the last one. This one has the new water from the fish tank. So I just attached the bubbler. Got the bubbler taped down to the floor. Just attached the bubbler to the side here with some tape, and just made sure that the roots are right where they need to be, which is just below the water here. That's the top set of roots here is just above the water, and I can adjust that by just pulling the string up a little bit and retaping it. So when it grows up, I will have to pull that string up so that the roots stay out of the water. So I'm just doing a daily maintenance to make sure that that water level is just right. And now I'm gonna go ahead and take out another 10 gallons out of this fish tank. Unfortunately, with this Fluval pump, I do have to be conscientious of how much water I take out, because it seems to me like if I get much lower than about here, then it starts sucking in air into the line, and I don't want to do that. So usually I just take a quarter of the water out, which is no problem. But I'm gonna go ahead and take out just a little bit more of this water, see if I can't get it a little bit cleaner without sucking in air from the intake. I had a feeling I remembered there being an issue with taking down too much water out of this tank, and I can't remember what it was, but what it seems like what happened is that, yeah, it did start taking in air into the intake, which is definitely not a good thing, because, you know, it may be because this pump needs to be higher than that, but no matter what it is, usually when I take a quarter of the water out, it just pours right out of this tube. When I took it down a little bit lower, it wasn't coming out the tube anymore, so that's as much water as I can take out using this this Fluval pump. No more than half, which is fine. If I have to, I guess I can fill it back up and then do it again. We'll see how it looks in a little bit. If you're watching these little shorts I make 1-minute shorts for the short lovers out there. And you feel like things are too repetitive, or you've seen the same thing over and over again, whatever, you know, you're more than welcome not to watch these videos. The reason that I post so many of the same thing, and I've said this before, is because I want to record everything that I'm doing in the process of getting to a good, clean aquaponics system. It's all a trial and error right now. And this is, when I post these videos is when I'm doing it. So I'm doing this stuff once a week. So at least once a week you're gonna see a new video, whether it be the same exact thing as I did last week, or I add a new step to it, you know, add some string holding this up, add a fish tank, whatever I add, it's gonna, I have taken out about 15 gallons of water. So I'm going to go ahead and add 15 gallons of water back in. Just some lukewarm, room temperature water from the tap. A little bit of water conditioner added in. I'm going to use my Fluval pump to pump it back into the fish tank. Now I've taken out more than a quarter, almost half of this water. I've taken out probably, I don't know, at least 15 gallons of water. And I would not suggest doing that with the Fluval pump. Doesn't seem to like it when you take out more than a quarter of the water. Again, you may want to get a what are those called? Just a little pump that sucks a shop vac. You might want to get like a little shop vac so that you can go ahead and take out the rest of the water if you ever need to. But you usually only take out a quarter of the water, which this Fluval pump works great for that. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and take this clean water. I've had the chlorinator sitting in it for 5 minutes. I'm just going to open up this in valve here, or close off the in valve, and open this up and put the water back in. So I got a set up now so where once I get this second pump, I'll be able to have the intake go from the fish tank to the plant tank, and then from the plant tank back to the fish tank. The thing is that these hoses for the pump, they have to be as short as possible. They suggest that you do them from one end to the other so that, you know, you're sucking in water from one end of your tank and shooting it out on the other end of your tank. But that's not going to matter so much because I'm going to be going back and forth, circulating the water from one tank to the other tank. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hook up another one of these tanks right over here in the corner, move this one over here to the corner, move these hoses over a little bit, and then that way I can just connect them back and forth right here in this corner. I just can't wait to get one of these second pumps. So the idea of it is that the expansion of this means that I can go from one tank to the next tank to the next tank and be cycling water back and forth from all the tanks, and that way I will keep a equal amount of aquaponics fertilizer in the plant tanks, as well as be removing the ammonia from the fish tank. You know, goal is to remove ammonia from the fish tank and use that ammonia to feed the plants. So once I get this other pump, I'll be able to circulate these two tanks back and forth. And if I get a third pump, I'll be able to circulate these two tanks back and forth. This tank right here is probably about 10 gallons down now. I've added 5 gallons back to it. And the trick to this new tank is that when I do get this pump hooked up, I notice that this intake has to be really deep in water. So I'm gonna have to fill this tank all the way up to the top. But that's okay, that'll just mean that it'll be more room for the roots to grow in. And I'll just use the string, since I have such a low ceiling, I'll just use the string, pull it up to the very top as far up this way as I can. And that'll actually give the plant some room to grow up the side of the arched ceiling. So I'm just putting some more water into my tote here to fill this up. I'm gonna add some dechlorinator. It's already looking way clearer. I think that 15 gallons will be plenty to clear this water up. But I will definitely be using less food. All right, got my tote full of lukewarm water. It's 5-gallon tote, so it's 2.5 milliliters of water conditioner to a 5-gallon tote. Do not forget to add your water conditioner when you're adding new water back in, or when you're cleaning any of your filters. Use dechlorinated water. Once I start going with organic, I will stop using this and just use the system of using the tap water, letting tap water sit out for 24 hours. I've actually heard a lot of people saying that rainwater works really well, so I may try that out. But got my 5-gallon tote of water that's been sitting there with the dechlorinator for 5 minutes. Just adding about 10 more gallons of water here. So I'm just going to take this, put this into this tote of water. And one thing that I will be doing eventually is raising this up off the ground. This does need to be below the fish tank, but it also needs to be above whatever you're draining your water into. But that's for another day. I only have to drain out a couple of gallons of water out of here, so I can just lift it up. But it's gravity fed, so when you drain it, it does have to go in there. But that's only for cleaning the filters. As far as taking the water in and out, I don't have to move it at all because it's got the pump that cycles it. So all I'm going to do is just close off the end and open up this end. In theory, these pumps, they stay completely full with a couple of gallons of water in them with no air inside of them. And so if I take the intake and I put it into this tank over here, it's going to take the water from here and put it into this tank, which is full. And then if I have the outtake in this tank, it's just going to be taking all the water from here and putting it into this tank right here. Now, if I take a second pump and I have an intake here that's sucking water, or an intake in here that's sucking water from here and putting it in there, it will not lower the level. Just filling up the last little bit of this water. I'd say we need a little more than 5 gallons. So I got the garden hose hooked up over here, putting in some lukewarm, a little chilly, but not freezing cold, lukewarm tap water in there. I'm gonna add my water conditioner, pump that back in there, and I think that we should be good. This guy right here is hanging from the ceiling. Once I get this filled up to the top, I'll have to hang this up a little bit higher, but just got to keep these roots in the water and the plant out of the water, so I'm using the string to pull the plant up. Pretty soon I'll have the pump going from here and back and forth, hopefully. Right here we have another 5-gallon tote of water. Just got to add my water conditioner and wait the 5 minutes. This is the tricky part, making sure that you have 2.5 milliliters of water conditioner in there. because it's such a small amount. It's like doing a science project. Once you get used to it, I should probably get a 5 milliliter dripper or something like that. That's 5 milliliters there. Just add that in there. Mix that around and wait the 5 minutes. Then I can use the pump to put that back into the fish tank. And we'll be almost full. Maybe one more tote. I've waited the 5 minutes for this water conditioner. Now I'm just going to take this hose from here and put it into this bucket. Close the in and open this valve here, and that will suck the water from there and put it back in here. I assume I'll probably use, looks like this whole bucket right here, and maybe even one more. So it's definitely looking a lot clearer. I think we're good with this. Once I'm done doing this, I'm glad that I took out 15 gallons instead of just 10. So here you can see I just kind of tipped the bucket up on its corner to get that last little bit of water out of there. So in reviewing my concept here, I have come to the realization that depending on how fast my pump works, as long as this pump and the other one works exactly the same rate, we'll be fine. But if one pump pumps faster than the other pump, I could end up taking the water in from here, putting it in this one slower than I'm taking it in from this one and putting it in that one. So that would mean that this one would overflow. This one would get drained out. What I really need is a float valve so that I can allow water in from this one into this one, determine it based on whether the height of the water is right. So I don't think the second pump is going to help much. Put in the comments if you think two of these pumps will work, or if you have a better solution. Just a little bit more water left to go. Definitely not a full 5-gallon tote, but I'm gonna go ahead and fill that up, put some water, some dechlorinator in there, and add as much as I need. I'm gonna go ahead and add the last little bit of dechlorinator to the water. Looks like I got something in there. I don't know how something got in there, but something in there. Anyways, and I'm just going to mix this around in the water. Go ahead and rinse this cap off, and then I can just add a little tiny bit of this water back into the fish tank to top it off, and I will be all done. I'm definitely happier with the water quality. The red mud on the bottom is gone. That's good. Just gonna go ahead and top off this last little bit of water here. Got a 5-gallon tote of water just sitting here waiting. It's been here for 5 minutes. And detach this hose, put that in here, and let's see, how am I going to set this hose in here so it'll sit there right? Maybe like that. Yeah, okay. So I got to keep an eye on how high the water is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the inlet, open this up. That's going to suck the water from here into there. Gotta make sure I don't suck in any air, that I don't overfill it. It's already sucked down about half of this 5-gallon tote, so it's gotten a couple of gallons out of there. It's just about to the point where it's gonna start sucking in air, but we are also very close to the very top of the fish tank being full. So hopefully I can use just this 5-gallon tote here to finish this off without sucking in any air. And as you can see, it's just about at the top. Yep, that's the very top right there. We didn't suck in any air. So now we just got to shut this off and reopen this. And now the system's back to cycling through here. It's not sucking in this water anymore. And the fish tank's all full. Well, it's just about night time, so it's dinner time for the fishies. And just got one last thing that I have to do, and that's to add the aquaponics fertilizer, which got spilled, and this stuff is nasty. It makes a big, huge mess, but that's okay. We'll clean it up. With this stuff, I just put a cap full for every 50 gallons of water, so that works out pretty well. Got a 50-gallon tank, so I just add that in here like this, and that helps to feed this plant right here. As you can see, the roots are under above a bubbler, and then I'll be taking that water and putting it into this tank to feed this plant here, which is hanging from the ceiling. All right, these guys are eating their dinner. And thankfully, they're not eating each other, which is just wonderful. In fact, I think Moth, the yellow glowfish, likes the other goldfish because he likes the fact that he's not the only yellow one now. But they're just eating their dinner, and just wanted to recap on this as well. Remember, the water level has to be above the roots and below the plant. So using a string tied onto it, pull it up to lift it up out of the water helps a lot. And you can reuse your ammonia that your fish excrete to feed your plants. And then you can take this water that your plant has cleaned the ammonia out of and put it back into the fish tank, making it a nice aquaponics. Thanks for joining me for another episode, and I hope you can get something from this. I hope everybody goes out and gets themselves a flue ball pump and a 50-gallon fish tank and 3 goldfish. I definitely don't suggest mixing the glowfish with the goldfish, but definitely do suggest getting yourself a big tank and a flue ball pump and some aquaponics fertilizer to feed your biological ammonia filter there. And thanks for watching again, and please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful night.